Hello again, friends. So for this leveling up tarot video, I'm going for something a little bit different to what I have done before, because I'm actually going to be discussing two cards and how they're different, because, well, I figured it would be a bit of fun. So our two cards today are going to be the Lovers and the Two of Cups. So generally speaking, people tend to get them a bit confused, I would say. Maybe not the correct word to use, but most people don't often know how to distinguish between these two energies. Now, I'm going to be talking about how I do that and a little bit about the traditional differences, though, you know, if you read differently, that's fine too. So let's start with what each card actually means on its own. So the Lovers, you tend to have, well, you pretty much always have a picture of two people, generally a man and a woman, who are stood by a figure, generally an angel or some sort of light star, something like that, in a beautiful garden or some other beautiful scenery. This represents relationships, harmony, and aligned values. So I say those three key terms very specifically. When reversed or when in its detriment and things like that, this is misaligned value, disharmony, and a breaking of relationships. On the other hand, the Two of Cups shows, again, generally a man and a woman or two people exchanging cups or something reminiscent of cups. And in those cups, in that exchanging, they are effectively exchanging their kind of relationship and their interconnection. This represents the coming together of relationships. So unified love is one particular term I like for this card. Again, relationships, interconnection, and I always tend to consider it the bonding of the emotions, because 2 is the union number in tarot and cups is the emotional suit, so the bonding of unions. In its reversal or in its detriment, it is the coming away of those things, so breakups, a sense of distrust, or maybe a disharmony. So what does that immediately tell us about the difference? I've used quite specific terminology for these cards to try to outline that difference. But I'm going to start with what the actual images show us. So in one, we have two people in a garden with a angel divine figure. In Two of Cups, so that first one was the Lovers. In Two of Cups, what we have is two people bonding over their cups, their shared sense of fulfillment, but we can also see that as a ritual or a ceremony of love. And so already there's probably quite an obvious one showing up to you. What is the big difference? In one, there is a sense of divinity, of timing, of heavenly kind of presence, and in the other, it is the two people making a commitment. It is a connection through ceremony, they have decided, and in the other, there is a third party. There is something else going on here. There is a heavenly aspect, as said, something idyllic, something which is bringing them together. So what you might already show the difference for those two being is that when one comes up, maybe it is fate, destiny, whatever works for you, and the other one is a chosen relationship or something which is going to be directly beneficial for you. So thinking more mystically, again, we can already take that as two different kinds of beneficial relationship, or maybe unbeneficial, you know, with the detriment aspects. In Two of Cups, we have one which is going to affect you on the physical, tangible realm, because there is a ceremony, there is something physically happening. Whereas in the Lovers, maybe that's more astral, maybe that's more spiritual, soul level, higher self, whatever works for you, like I said, because we're talking about a garden, something beautiful, something above the self. So in the traditional Rider-Waite, the particular image is thought to be or is of Angel Raphael and the Garden of Eden, and that's where we get those ideas from. However, of course, it's not going to be the same in every deck, but we can still use that idea of one being more mystical maybe and one being more literal. So let's go into some other differences. As you can already tell from the keywords we used, one is about love and one is about unity, and that's a very intriguing difference to use, but it might take some nuance and it might take some exterior thinking and musing to really understand that difference. So if we talk about the Lovers and love right now, most people are going to be reading it for relationships, but that is not the only thing that the Lovers means. In fact, the Lovers can just show your own alignment to your choices, to what you want, to relationships outside of love and outside of what you can gain from them, like divine relationships and coming together in that way. Or equally, it can show self-love, your relationship with yourself, and how you are effectively becoming one with and in a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Harmonious, I suppose, way with you. So I do use the word relationship still to outline that a relationship is not always between you and someone else. It can be between you and yourself. It can be between you and something that you want, something that maybe you didn't realize you want, or something that other people didn't realize that you wanted. So with the lovers, it may not even be talking about somebody entering your life. And that is why with that particular card, I do tend to, in my own readings, not immediately make it about a relationship, because it's not immediately about a relationship unless other cards are pointing in that direction or the question is itself. So then we have the Two of Cups, and this card is arguably more likely to link to relationships and connections because we're talking about partnerships and unified love. As explained, it is the union of emotional fulfillment. Now, of course, it may not always be about a literal relationship because every tarot card has a million facets to it. However, the Two of Cups is generally going to be talking about a need for support, somebody who's coming into your life who can support you or who can change you and help you in some way. And so when we have those two differences, what we have is the difference between self-love and supportive love. That's how I like to view the lovers and the Two of Cups when comparing them in this way. So how else could you see these differences? What else is different about the lovers and the Two of Cups? Well, let's go back to those detriment ideas. So the negatives or reversals, however you use them. In one, we had a lack of self-love, a lack of harmony and misalignment. So that was the lovers. And in the other, we had disharmony, breakups and distrust. So that was Two of Cups. What these two differences show, I hope you can see, is that one is about a sense of awkward, well, as the term said, misalignment, and the other is maybe a bit more paranoid and a little bit more likely to be an internal affair. So misalignment can be really anything, but I suppose is generally spiritual, and it may also be physical, whereas the Two of Cups is going to be more emotional or physical. So like a breakup is obviously quite physical, but you also feel it emotionally, whereas being misaligned is something you feel on a spiritual level. So maybe you feel like you're not going in the right direction. Before moving on, I would like to make a big kind of warning, because I did deliberately use the terms spiritual and emotional to compare them. Spiritual here is referring to something beyond your immediate feelings, so things that you seem to just know, maybe your intuition, your idea of your higher purpose, and emotional is referring to things that you feel, so the internal goings on thanks to what you're physically going through, that sort of thing. So again, those are just two ways you could see those particular cards. So to wrap it up, what is the difference? How are these cards different? Well, hopefully I've given you a lot of ideas, but generally speaking, I would say this. The Lovers is going to be showing you where something is coming into a sense of peace, and it may be linked to a lover. It may be linked to a lover. Generally speaking, because the card is rooted in the idea of Eden, angels, Adam and Eve, and harmony in that way. However, that doesn't mean you have to read it in that way. It can be talking about alignment, it can be talking about your ability to connect to the divine, it can be talking about you loving yourself. And I would generally say that if there's no other hints of a lover coming forward in the reading, that probably the Lovers is not talking about love, in the same way that Death being in a reading is not necessarily talking about death. Whereas on the other hand, Two of Cups is more likely to be talking about a relationship. It is bringing in somebody else to your life, a connection, be it romantic, a friend, a supporter, a motherly figure, a guardian, a business partner maybe even, which again can be seen in the Lovers because of partnerships. So the Two of Cups is going to be supportive. That is more likely to be somebody coming into your life, a sense of union and maybe giving something to someone else and having something back in return. So something ceremonious and ceremonial, in that you are forming a relationship with could be yourself in some readings, but with this other person, with this person or this thing coming into your life. And so that is how I would read these two cards. This is the difference between the Lovers and the Two of Cups, and hopefully this has helped. So if you do enjoy these videos, do click subscribe. If you do enjoy my content, check out my Patreon. I post twice a week, awesome exclusive content. We do 2 different monthly readings. Sometimes there's free pendulum, sigil readings, things like that. So come along, have fun. But until next time, bye folks.